Welcome to the Black experience of being human in the creative society. My name is Dudley Najieb, along with
Lennice Najieb.
And we first want to tell you a little bit about ourselves and why we felt it is important to talk to you today about the Creative Society. You know, Lennice, my experience with the Creative Society first began with searching online, because me and you will watch late night about earthquakes. I know that's crazy, right? A pastime.
Yeah.
We're watching about earthquakes and floods. And I know you're like this math person. You're always trying to figure out why this is happening.
Yeah, I'm always looking for solutions. I'm always trying to find out how this is happening, and I have a curiosity of the details of what it is that we're watching.
So I decided to, I guess, research a little bit more. I'm looking online, and first we see Roy Starr.
Yes.
I'm like, whoa, who is this?
Roy
And
Starr.
he had a cool video, right? We're like, we can add this to our Blended TV channel. Blended TV is our climate change, clean energy, green technology channel that we have under our AMP TV label.
Yes.
And so we're always looking for content that's going to excite the viewers. And he just had this, whatever the video was, it was really cool. It was really fascinating because he was talking about people coming together. And then he talked about climate change. And that was the first time I had heard, like, in a rap song about climate change and coming together. And I showed you, you're like, oh, that's pretty fascinating.
Yes, when I watched it, I was just like, what is this? Oh, okay, Roy Starr? Okay.
Never heard of him until then, right?
And then, you know, just wanted to find out more information about it. So, you know, Julia turned me on to it, and I was willing to, you know, view it and watch it, and I was amazed to see the quality, not only the quality of the video, but the content of the video.
What he was talking about.
What he was talking about.
It was a serious topic. It wasn't just about how his day went. He was talking about the climate and what was going to be happening to the earth. So that's what intrigued me.
Yes.
But then we go, we keep going. We got to go forward, right? Because then, we're going to get to this in a moment. Then we got to see more video. I was intrigued. I'm like, there's a scientist that popped up. I was calling him Scientist John. And I was listening to his story, and he was talking about what he went through. And he was just so intriguing to me, where he was explaining, as a scientist, he was shunned. And then I showed you.
Yes.
I'm like, this is an 11-hour video, but we have to watch it.
You know, when I watch videos like this, anytime I see scientists, and
it's hard to
I
get you to watch 11-hour video, let's be honest.
Yes, I had to break it up in pieces, but I was more intrigued with John. You know, being the seriousness of it, the scientists behind it, and I was more wanting to, one, get to know more about it, and two, hopefully I was hoping to meet him, you know, eventually. I didn't know I would be taking pictures with him very soon, but I was intrigued with the information and knowledge, and wanted to know, for me, is this real? Is this a hoax? You think, is this for real? Is this a hoax?
Yeah. But it's no hoax, no jokes. That's what Roy Starr.
That's what he said. No hoax, no joke. Yes.
And so, as we began to learn more about the Creative Society, and they talked about you could have $10,000 a month in the Creative Society and not have to have any utility bills, those are intriguing. We're like, okay, I need a little bit more information. I
was more intrigued that you don't have to pay rent, you know, and that hits real home to me. Don't have to pay rent. I'm gonna have $10,000, no utilities, no rent. And
what about being human? That's kind of we like that part too.
Yes, and what about the medical?
Not based on skin color, your skin tone, who you are. I thought that was very important for me.
Me as well. I am so sick of discrimination. I am sick of racism. I am sick of...
Aren't you tired of it?
I am overly exhausted, overly exhausted.
And we know some of you are too. And so that's what I've always liked, that concept. And I know me and you were like, that's too unbelievable. How's that gonna happen? Because we look at our age now, we're like, it hasn't happened yet. However, we have experienced it in the Creative Society. I can say that. Can you feel that experience?
Yes, I experienced. I notice the genuine care, the genuine love, the genuine support that I haven't seen anywhere else. I'll just be honest. So.
And so we want to first be honest with you about that, because we would tell you if we were being treated bad. Let me tell you something, even just visiting members of the Creative Society, I'm probably gaining weight, you know, because they make sure that you are fed if you don't have food or whatever the case might be. They really take care of you because they care about you as a human being. So I would definitely tell you, my background as a journalist, I'm all about the truth, and I want to bring the truth to you all. This Black experience of being human, it might be a new concept for some of you, and it was kind of new for us too. We were like, are we really going to be treated as a human being? Am I really a priority just of who I am, where no one cares about my skin color? Believe it or not, I'm here to tell you, that has been our experience in the creative society. So I wanted to start with that to let people know. And your background, tell them about your background, mathematics. And
Yes, I have a degree in mathematics with a minor in statistics and probability. I also have a teaching credential in mathematics. I taught math for about 15 years throughout California and through some of the universities in the summertime as well. And using my math skills, a lot of people look at math as just numbers. Oh, he knows numbers or symbols and everything. I actually apply it to life. I actually apply it to people. I actually apply it to reality. Everything that I do, I use math in it because math is a universal language. And what I saw working and talking to some of the scientists in person, I had to meet them in person and privately, one-on-one. And I was able to really see the emotion, really see the data, really see what they're talking about, not only on a personal level, but on a mathematical science level. And I was very intrigued and seeing that it's real, it's really real. And I want our audience and also our community to take this serious and be real with it and see how you all can contribute to the creative society and to this fold right here.
so these coordination centers, and we're starting it off. We want to make sure you know that you too can have a coordination center, right? But we're starting this off to show you this is as simple as it gets, just having the dialogue. You can have the dialogue with 2 of you, 3 of you, 4 of you, and then that'll grow to 5, and that'll grow to 10 and 25 and so on. And with that experience of just talking and breaking down maybe concepts that might seem dense and difficult, like what we're going to do today. We're going to tackle a difficult topic, but before I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about my background as an investigative journalist, news producer, several degrees, journalism, marketing, French. I also have a teaching credential, English, also film production, and a few masters. You got a few masters. Okay, so now you know we're educated, right? And so we're not.
You forgot to mention your award-winning journalist.
Oh yeah, I have a few awards. I got a few of those as well. And I just want to tell you that we're not trying to brag. That's not it at all.
That's not what it is.
We're telling you that we're educated people who have done the research and are telling you that this is beyond real. Eventually we'll be talking about technology. Eventually we'll be talking about other difficult concepts. But today we want to talk about the auroras. And let me tell you why. And so there's a news article that flashed about these auroras, and it hit Northern California. So I was on the phone with a friend and also talked to a cousin, and people were fascinated. Oh, we got to go see these auroras. We got to go visit the auroras. And me and you were both mortified, right? Because
Yes.
we've been at the conference. We've seen the 11-hour video. We've seen what these auroras are. They're not what you think they are. They might be beautiful in colors. Ooh, ah, look at the pink, look at the green. And we're like, ooh, ah, yes, look at the pink, look at the green.
Yes.
And we want to be able to explain that to you. But first, we have to break down the sun. When you look up in the sky at the sun, you're thinking, oh, the sun is shining. I love the beautiful rays. I am in the sun. I'm enjoying it. And there's always that myth we've talked about, how Black people can't get skin cancer. But me and you know, thanks to Inbu and Tiffany Midwa's forum, melanoma is very much a thing for African Americans, for everyone. The sun. So we want to, if you can give us an analogy, how big is the sun? How big is it?
Well, if you think about the sun, you know, it's huge. It's very huge. And when you look at, when you think about the sun, just go to the beach and you see like a grain of sand, you know, a tiny grain of sand, just one tiny grain of sand. I know the beach is so filled of sand, but you just take one of those sands and you put it in a big bowl where you can, or a big volume bowl where you can put each sand in there. Well, it takes approximately 1 million of those sands, but each sand represents one Earth. That's how big the sun is. So that can give you some kind of a projection or a perspective of the size of the Earth in compared to the size of the sun. So that's how big.
Well, that makes sense. So how many Earths can actually fit within one sun, you think, approximately?
Well, like I said, I say approximately, they say approximately 1 million, but I say approximately maybe 1.3 million, somewhere around there. But I say approximately 1 million. 1 million Earths can fit into
so that's
one
a
sun.
lot.
That's a whole bunch. That's a lot.
Okay.
But when you look at the sun, you can't see that. You're looking at like a little
The rays, the
or the yellow sun that you can barely put into your hand.
Summertime,
So,
you know, sing the rap song, Summertime.
So
I get it. And we want to put that in perspective to help people understand what we're about to break down with these auroras and why they're actually pretty dangerous. They are, we're talking about radiation coming from the sun. As beautiful as it may be, we have to help people understand that without the protection and with the magnetic field weakening, that these rays, these beautiful rays from the sun, can be very damaging and also cancerous and also mutations. And that's what we wanted to help people understand. Those beautiful auroras, do not go visit them. And I want to play a clip of the video.
Yeah, I like to see
and see. And we'll stop and break it down because it's really dense information. And so we figured in this Black experience of being human in the creative society, any questions that you have, please definitely send that to us. You can go to blendedtv.me or amptvnow.com and send us the questions you have. We want to be able to have these forums, answer your questions, and maybe have you participate in your own coordination center eventually. But we're starting it off. You can be with us and be able to ask us the questions, and we'll break down as much as we can. And we'll even bring people on the show to be able to help us understand even more. But since we just had a 12-hour forum, I wanted to play this first excerpt. And by the way, these are from experts, scientists. They have the PhDs, they've got the backgrounds, we're not just showing you anyone, we're showing you credible scientists from around the world, around the globe, and they didn't just wake up and do this yesterday. That's important for people to understand. This is real research over time. And so why don't we play that first clip? Changes in the magnetic field of the Earth and other planets and the atypical anomalies. So I'm going to play the first clip and we're going to discuss it.
During each 12,000-year cycle of catastrophe, there is a drift of the magnetic poles, which we are observing now. The pole shift from 12,000 years ago is called Gutenberg excursion, 24, Lake Mungo, 36, Mono Lake, 48, La Champ, and so on. In past cycles, the magnetic field also weakened. For example, according to the paleomagnetic research and dendrochronology, during the La Champ event, the planet's magnetosphere shrank to about 3.8 times the Earth's radius. One hypothesis claims that the extinction of Neanderthals occurred due to the increased ultraranges of the magnetic field in the current 12,000-year cycle. What anomalies on the planet they cause, and what threats these possess to us. Again, that in 1995, as a result of the changes in the Earth magnetic field and in the Earth core, the North Magnetic Pole, previously moving at a speed of about 10 miles a year, drastically accelerated by 3.5 ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma, and their derivative, is threatening us. This also means that an even greater flux of the external cosmic impact is penetrating towards the core.
Wait, can we pause there for a minute? Because we're saying only a 10% weakening of the Earth's magnetic field. Why do you see that as a lot when you're looking at the weakening?
10% is a lot.
Mathematically,
it's a lot because it can weaken more and more and more as time goes on, and we don't know the rate yet, or we do know the rate, but at 10% is quite a significant amount.
And then also what she said, this is a scientist, Anastasia, a very well-known scientist, when we're looking at that magnetic field weakening and radiation and X-rays coming through, that is where we're looking at health conditions changing. That is where we're looking at mood and behavior changing, All of things add to it. See, people forget that our body is made, at least 60% water, and that we too run on an electric field within our own bodies.
A lot of people also don't realize as well is the animals. What we eat is affected by those rays. It's affected by the nutrients that's in the ground, and also by the fruits that's also grown up as well.
So radiated food, I mean, we have to look at all of those things when we're looking at the weakening of the Earth's magnetic field. And that's just a part of it when we're talking about the weakening of the Earth's magnetic field. We got to talk about the sun rays that are coming through there. So I'm going to let Anastasia continue, but I wanted to first explain that that's significant to understand that the weakening of the field itself is problematic.
Yes.
Okay, because what's coming through, the X-ray, the radiation, and so forth, and why we're seeing more health elements as well, the cancers and the mutations that people don't have an explanation for.
There is another sign of the changes in the Earth's magnetic field, which indicates the stabilization of the core and is probably unexpected for you. These are atypical auroras. You probably noticed that this year there are particularly many abnormally bright and frequent auroras in various non-typical places of the planet. People have posted numerous photos and videos on social networks admiring this phenomena. However, unfortunately, there isn't anything to admire, and now we will explain why. What is an aurora? This is the interaction of the solar wind with the Earth's magnetic field and the atmosphere. In simple terms, the solar wind particles interact with oxygen and nitrogen, causing them to emit light, which we observe as an aurora. Depending on how deeply charged particle can penetrate the atmosphere, what energy they have, the auroras with different colors we will observe. Each altitude has its own color, which is determined by the composition and density of the atmosphere. On Earth, we used to see green auroras, mainly on the poles. Green auroras occurs at the height of 60 to 130 kilometers above the Earth. Then solar wind particles with a medium energy interact with atomic oxygen. However, the auroras also can be red. It occurs due to the interaction of high-energy solar wind particles with atomic oxygen. Usually, it appears at the heights above 130 miles because such high-energy particles were prevented by the magnetic field from penetrating below this altitude. Red auroras were rare. They occurred only during the intense magnetic storms. Now...
Whoa, did you hear that? She said, red auroras are rare and only occurred in these the geomagnetic storms. And at the time of doing this particular video in April, we had some very high geomagnetic storms to the point where it hit the news cycle. And that's what that headline that we talked about, that we were discussing the very beginning of this program. So the beautiful colors that people are seeing, normally you see them at the poles. We've heard about people taking visits to these poles to see the beautiful auroras, the green, and maybe it's not so bad with the green. And yet now people are seeing the reds, and red is bad, and also the purples. So the fact that they saw them in Northern California, are you concerned?
I'm very concerned. You know, that's where I'm from. I'm born and raised in Northern California, Richmond, California to be exact. And I have relatives there. I have my mother there. And I know if they're not informed of what it is, they just go in there as a trip.
Sightseeing.
Sightseeing trip, or some way where they can enjoy the colors. Oh, look at the beautiful purple colors and the red colors and the orange colors, and let's go to a trip like they're going to the beach or something.
So you
like
don't think anybody would say, oh, look at the beautiful radiation.
No.
The red radiation.
No.
Okay, so but that's the concept that we want to help you understand. When you're looking at the color codes, there's danger there. So you have to understand what you're looking at. And we thought it was so important to talk about this. And we know it's a dense topic to discuss. We get it.
Yes.
And that's why we're literally stopping the video at just 30 seconds and 40 seconds and so forth, because we just want you to understand how dangerous it actually is to go visit these auroras and not go sightseeing It's not the thing to sightsee right now.
No.
It's the radiation that's coming through, and this is what's going to be causing those illnesses to come. And we don't know how fast those illnesses will develop. We don't know if that'll be within a month's time or years, but it will happen. So let's continue there.
We observe an extremely alarming anomaly. Not only red auroras become more frequent, they already been observed at the altitude lower than 55 miles. What does it mean? First of all, this means that the magnetic field is weakening, and those active high-energy particles of solar wind, which were supposed to be reflected by the magnetic field, and they are freely penetrating deeper into the atmosphere and beginning to interact with atomic oxygen closer to the Earth. This is important to note that there is a penetration of larger, more highly charged particles that act more destructively. The fact that the red auroras occur in the lower layers of the atmosphere means that there are no longer protection above. The second reason why the auroras are behaving abnormally is the descent of the upper layer and middle layers of the atmosphere. The atmosphere is contracting, it is sinking, and the density of its upper and middle layers is decreasing. Moreover, its chemical composition is changing. Satellite data has revealed a decrease in the concentration of oxygen by 2 to 4 times at the altitudes of 80 miles. And
Wait, did you hear what she just said about oxygen decreasing? So the solar winds are able to penetrate because there's no protection there. There's no protection through the ozone layer. There's nothing there.
So when you're saying oxygen decreasing, when you're thinking about the oxygen decreasing, you're looking at the situation where you can't breathe. You know, you're not able to breathe as freely or as sparingly as you would like. So without oxygen, oxygen go to your brain. You can't think. You can't.
Less
function.
oxygen going to your brain.
Less oxygen going to your brain. You can't think. You can't function. You can't process. So that's a big concern right now.
Right. And so these are long-term trends that she is talking about. And I think that is what we want to see. She says that we want to help people understand and see, because she's talking about these are sharp declines in oxygen concentration. Our body has to be able to operate off of oxygen. And that is the problem, is that we don't realize how important that is. We live off of oxygen, and without it, we die. You know, I don't mean to say it like that, but it's like a doom and gloom if we don't have oxygen. It keeps decreasing like that. And so when we're looking at these solar winds, and remember how big the sun is. You're talking about at least 1 million Earths. That's how big the sun is, and these are the solar winds that are coming through. Let's continue.
And the rate of the oxygen loss is significantly exceed all predictive model, indicating some pathological process leading to a decrease in oxygen in the atmosphere. Scientists also record the destruction of ozone by solar wind at the altitudes of 50 miles, and soon we will see the ozone layer being destroyed in the stratosphere at the altitudes of 30 miles. This means that we will lose our protection from UV radiation. Red auroras are already appearing in mid-latitude. Many of these were observed in February and March 2023. On January 5th, 2023, the sky over Germany was colored red. This was example of anomalous static red aurora. In addition to anomalous red aurora, blue, teal, white, and even pink auroras have also been observed, which also indicate the penetration of solar wind closer to the surface of Earth and cracks in the magnetic field. During the solar flares, auroras are increasingly moving towards the equator. For example, during the strong magnetic storm on March 24, 2023, which scientists could not predict in advance and did not expect its arrival, the auroras was observed in the United States, even in southern regions, such as Virginia, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and in Arizona. Polar auroras started reaching southern latitudes in Europe, such as Czech Republic, Ukraine, and southern Russia. Unusual bright and frequent auroras, which now occur far from the polar region, cannot be explained by activity of the sun, as the sun is currently in a prolonged minimum of its activity, meaning that the fewer particles.
The reason I want to pause it is so people can see this part where she says, why do we observe unusual auroras? Take a look at that. Bullet point number 1, critical weakening of the Earth's magnetic field. So any of those pinks, those are cracks in the magnetic field that she talked about. So even the beautiful pinks that you're seeing and reds, those are huge cracks in the magnetic field. Bullet number 2 says, atmosphere contraction, density changes in the upper is layers of atmosphere. And then bullet point number 3 says, change in the chemical composition of the upper atmosphere. So if we're talking about lack of oxygen, and that's what we're talking about here when she's looking at that third bullet point, and then unusual auroras can not be explained by solar activity since the sun is in its minimum. The sun, which has this cycle that it goes through, we are at the minimum with the sun cycle. We wanted to help people understand that these auroras that you're seeing might be beautiful, but not as beautiful as you think when you're looking at the whole scope of things in picture. So we're going to finish up and then we'll finalize our discussion.
Yes.
From solar wind will reach the Earth. The only explanation for the aurora's anomalies is that the magnetic field is critically weakening, the atmosphere is contracting, and the solar wind is descending closer and closer to the surface. This is scary because it shows a large disturbance in the magnetic field, and it is a sign that the Earth's core is no longer working properly. We are horrified by the fact that people are now just admiring this phenomenon without realizing that this is the black mark of Cerberus. Admiring the northern lights with their rare colors is like admiring the cleanliness and sharpness of a blade when you are lying on a guillotine. Unfortunately, the scientific community does not consider the problem comprehensively as they should. These processes will only intensify further, and there will be more and more harsh radiation coming from space.
Did you hear what she just said about the guillotine? You heard that, right?
Yes, I heard that very clearly.
Okay, because I want to make sure you all heard it too, because we're admiring like how the blade's going to look when it pretty much cuts right through us. That's what she said. And this is from a scientist's perspective. A renowned scientist, Anastasia, is explaining about these beautiful auroras that no one's really talking about that. All I'm seeing are news clips discussing about the beautiful auroras. It's all about, oh, look at the site over Northern California. Look at the site over here in Virginia.
But they don't have no clue that that is coming into a death sentence.
Oh, but now they do. If you're watching the Black experience of being human in the creative society, now you have a clue. We are telling you what's going on. We are digging into the truth to be able to help you explore even yourself and look it up. Don't take my word for it. Take the scientist's word for it. We're just showing you right here what it looks like.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know if we want to go into Scientist John clip. He gets pretty animated as well. And so, but I just want to let you know, you're looking at beautiful guillotines. That's what you're looking at.
Yes.
Few people know that there is another anomalous phenomenon that has become more frequent in the last few years. It is a logical manifestation of an atypical behavior of a magnetic field, which looks like light pillars. Previously, similar phenomena were observed only during the auroras, but now they start to occur even without them. Currently, these phenomena are mainly observed in cold regions at night when there's a light from street lamps. You can read that such light pillars appear because hexagonal or column-shaped ice crystals are suspended in the air, one above another, and are illuminated by a light source. But recall night-winter photos from 10 to 20 years ago. Did you see light pillars on them as often as you see them now? After all, there were street lights, but there were no pillars. What is now keeping the ice crystals in suspended state? This is not just an optical effect. Nowadays, there are more and more cases when light pillars appear in groups. They are brightly colored in the color of the streetlights illuminating them. But the intensity of the pillar glows does not correspond to the brightness of the light source. And what is more abnormal is that light pillars with a red tint or color appeared, independent of the light source. What are these light pillars? This is an atypical manifestation of the magnetic field properties, which cannot be detected by our instruments. It indicates a local weakening of the magnetic field. During such phenomena, cosmic radiation penetrates to the surface of the Earth along the magnetic field lines, interacts with the molecules in the air. This is what colors the pillars in different shades, similar to auroras. Ice crystals hang in suspended state along the power lines of the magnetic field. Today, you will learn what causes the local weakening of the magnetic field. Just as in the auroras, the red color in the light pillars indicate molecular oxygen, which we breathe, is being destroyed by harsh cosmic radiation. Molecular oxygen turns into atomic oxygen, which emits a reddish color, reddish light. This in turn indicates that anomalous zones in the magnetic field are becoming more frequent and more extensive, and the power lines of magnetic field are distorted.
We've seen this before. A little bit different from the aurora, similar as far as the effects of the breakdown in the magnetic field, right? And we're thinking that the beautiful reflection of lights, we've seen this even online, we've seen it on YouTube, and that's what Scientist John, this one that led us here,
Yep.
the Creative Society, thank you, Scientist John.
Thank you.
Light pillars, the red, orange colors, that's actually a bad thing. We want you to realize. So if you're seeing that in the sun, if you're seeing that in the sky, please let us know. Send us a message. Again, you can go to blendedtv.me or amptvnow.com and reach out to us and send us the photos. And we can talk about it. We'll give it to the scientists and ask them to expand on it. Ask them to help explain to us what's going on in this photo.
Yeah, they have to be, you guys have to be our eyes and ears so you can give that information to us so we can stay abreast to what's going on in your particular area, no matter what state, or no matter what country, or no matter anywhere on the earth. Send that to us.
And again, the Creative Society is about making sure that we have solutions. So just like we just did the Global Crisis Forum, there is a way out. We wanted to let you know there is a way out. So we're not just showing you doom and gloom. We're just trying to explain to you what these auroras and these light fixtures that you're seeing in the sky are all about. We wanted to start with that, but don't worry, there is a way for us to be able to manage all of this through the Creative Society. And the reason why you hear people saying that this is the only way, the Creative Society is the only way, is because we are collectively coming together and unifying, having one experience as a human race, and being able to use technology in the most positive way, using AI technology in the most positive way, where we are not harming the earth, where we are not harming ourselves, where we are being able to appreciate one another as human beings. So I just wanted to say that part. And it's not a doom and gloom if we can come together. And right now we are in this information phase. And this whole Black experience of being human in the Creative Society, what we're doing right now is to inform you, is to give you the information and for you to ask the questions. Please don't be shy in asking us a question. If we do not know it, I promise you, we will find the answer. That is the truth. Let's finish up with Scientist John.
As a consequence, our atmosphere is subjected to even more severe attacks from cosmic radiation. Now, you understand why such phenomena as light pillars are not at all fascinating, but rather is frightening. Our protective magnetic field is weakening severely. Harsh cosmic radiation is penetrating deeper and deeper into the Earth's surface, and oxygen in the atmosphere is depleting. All this is progressing extremely rapidly, and we, being intelligent and educated people, do not see that. We admire the anomalous polar light pillars, and say, how beautiful. What can be beautiful about impending death?
That's where I wanted to stop this show right here. That's what got me and you, right? What can be more beautiful than impending death? Wow.
Yeah.
Scientist John, for real?
Wow.
How did that hit you?
Oh, that hit me like a stun of, that just hit me hard when he said, what can be more beautiful than impending death? You know, when he said that, what came in my mind is an image, of what they used to catch flies in the way. And they used the light, the glowing lights out there to catch flies or mosquitoes, more or less. And
then they die.
And then they go right into the light and they just zip, just die. Ding, ding, ding. So that was that's my analogy.
That's the visual you had.
A visual analogy that I had when people are looking at these lights and going towards the lights. It's the same thing that the mosquito or the fly has going to those little lights where they get zapped. And that's my image,
That's the image you saw.
that I saw.
Thank you, Dr. and Scientist John Hahn, and for breaking that down and giving us that visual. And so that's what we wanted to explain to you all today, Black experience of being human in the creative society. We just wanted to give you a little heads up about those auroras. Please don't go visit those auroras. I know they look beautiful in the sky, but that is impending death that you're looking at in the sky. That is the weakening of the magnetic field. That is radiation coming through. That is the solar winds coming through. That is possibly cancerous mutations and all of those things. Not to scare you, but there is an answer in the creative society. And we'll talk more about that in more episodes to come in this Black experience of being human in the creative society. My name is Julia Dudley Najieb, along with
Lennice Najieb.
Thank you for joining us, and we will give you more episodes and breaking down more videos until the next time.